All right, let's take a look at another rhetorical question that appears on the ACT test, and that is this least acceptable. It's a combination of many other types of questions. Oftentimes they're asking you to determine whether something is grammatically correct or whatever. So there are different things that they're assessing. So don't just think that it's not like wordiness. It's not like omit or delete the underlined portion. It's kind of a combination of things. So really, they want you to eliminate answers based upon grammatical problems like punctuation, incorrect verb tense, misplaced modifiers, or redundancy issues like wordiness. So that's what you have to be thinking of. So you have to use your other English skills to be able to determine whether or not something is correct or not. Okay. All right, so here is an example, right? The text reads, the music is mainly instrumental. The bands generally consist of guitar, bass guitar, saxophones, accordion, and drums. And then they're going to ask you which of the following alternatives to the underlined portion would not be acceptable. All right. Now, as a reader, you really need to circle these nots and least, because what happens is you're in test taking mode, and test taking mode is find the right answer, and so you need to make sure that you're finding the wrong answer, and it's a different kind of thought process. So just make sure that that's kind of what you're thinking. So as we look at this, we need to determine grammatically what is incorrect, what does not work, and I can tell you that the dash that is in the underlying portion certainly works. We know it works because it's not even an option to change, really. So we're looking for incorrect ones, right? So we know that the music is mainly instrumental is the end of a thought. That's the sentence boundary, which we'll talk about. So we could put a period there, right? It's a complete sentence. So if we take a look, are we looking for any that has a period? Yes. C has a period, so it is correct. What other punctuation mark works a lot like a period? And that's a semicolon. So A and D both have semicolons, and they finish out correctly. The music is mainly instrumental. In general, comma, the bands consist of guitar, bass guitar, saxophones, accordion, and drums. And the other one says the bands generally. So that also works. So the answer here is B. And the reason it's B is because you're not allowed to link two independent clauses with just a comma. And we'll get to that when we take a look at some commas, but that's why that is not correct. Another example, the Odom in the 1700s first encountered the guitars of the Spanish missionaries. All of the following would be acceptable placement for the underlined portion except, so now they're, the least acceptable, which one, works. And guys, all you have to do is move this thing around. The use your ear to pass this test. So we're looking for a misplaced modifier here. What happened in the 1700s? What happened in the 1700s? Well, the Odom encountered the guitars of the Spanish missionaries. All right, so the Odom in the 1700s. That works, right? Because it happened in the 1700s, so we can cross off F. Now, if we want to move it to the beginning, in the 1700s, the Odom, it's really close to the Odom. That's where we want it to be, because we want our modifiers to be close to the words they are modifying. And the Odom is being modified, therefore it should be close. So it works fine with G. What about after the word guitar? The Odom first encountered the guitars in the 1700s of Spanish missionaries. Now, that doesn't sound right, because what's happening in the 1700s? The Odom are doing something. We want it to be close to the Odom, right? For the most part. That's really what's going on. And the other one, J, so H is a possible incorrect answer. Then we want to make sure we look at them all, okay? Least acceptable, right? So after the word missionaries, ending the sentence, the Odom first encountered the guitars of the Spanish missionaries in the 1700s. So because the Spanish missionaries were there and the Odom were there at the same time, it does make sense to have in the 1700s at the end. That works really well. Where it doesn't make sense is having it after the word guitar. That doesn't make sense. It makes the least amount of sense. Could we figure out what it meant? Yeah, but we want to make it very simple for our reader to understand. Here's another one. Shortly after her revelation, computer enhancement revealed that hat pins that were used to prop up the cardboard cutout fairies. Okay, so which of the following alternatives to the underlying portion would not be acceptable? So this is a grammatical one. Are we using the right verbs? Are we using the right tenses? That kind of stuff. Well, if you take a look at the underlying portion that were used, now this is what good ACT test takers do. They look for patterns in the answer choices. So what kind of tense is being used there? Past tense, that were used. if you take a look at your options, that had been used. The girls used. D is used. So that makes a lot of sense to keep using the past tense, right? It makes sense to use the past tense because all the other ones are past tense and we're looking for the wrong answer. So all we need to do is plug them in, and if we suspect that C is incorrect, we should plug it in. Shortly after her revelation, computer enhancement revealed the hat pins using to prop up. That doesn't make sense because the word revealed is already in the past tense, right? A word we cannot change they've already given us a clue what the correct answer is. It will be a past tense verb. We should go with the answer that is not using the past tense, and that would be using. So really, guys, that's all it really is to least acceptable. It's applying your other grammatical sense to make it work.